Hello and welcome to a Taylor's Tales podcast. This is Chris's Corner. I'm your host, Chris Taylor, and welcome back to a brand new episode. This week, I've got another plethora of tasty topics to cover, starting with Lofi, the community itself, and just discussing some of the most recent lo-fi mixes I've put together, and maybe for you the listener might be intrigued to how they were put together in the first place, as well as the community itself. So first off, I want to say thank you to those who listened to the lo-fi mixes that I put together. I got a fantastic response over the past four videos that I put together, all of which reached over 50 plus views for each one, the highest reaching 11,500 views, the middle one being 600, the other two being around 60 to 100. Fantastic. An amazing response to something that I could never have ever imagined getting that level, just by putting some of my favourite mixes together, some of the most talented artists, basically becoming a DJ for the lo-fi community, something that I adore myself, and I love the level of love, positivity, and all-round wholesomeness that comes within the lo-fi community. If you haven't been there yourself, for those who aren't aware of low-frequency music, please go out there and search on YouTube. It's free, it's fantastic for when you're trying to get work done, or if you want to be in a space of going to sleep, trying to study, trying to be in the zone, or you're just trying to put yourself out of anxiety and into a relaxed space. I would definitely recommend going out there and searching, for instance, the original chilled. She was originally known as the Chilled Cow channel, but I believe it's something else now. It might be Chilled Girl or Chilled something along those lines, but it was originally Chilled Cow channel. The Chilled Cow channel that I discovered lo-fi behind, and from there that love affair has blossomed and bloomed into something where I am not the creator, but the mixer for these amazing artists. And I like the podcast, I see it as something that I will continuously put content out because of my love for it, and for the fact that people seem to respond well to it, and that is always a lovely positive on my part to see that. For me personally, I think the greatest thing about putting them together is having it's almost harmony. You know, you mix, you put the right music in the right place at the right time, and it just moves together, because these artists didn't make their music to necessarily mix with anyone else's, but it seems to be that they've got, because they're lo-fi or low frequency music, they have this ability to nicely slot in like a jigsaw puzzle, one after another. And I love the fact that they implement fantastic cutscenes from movies and utilize the speaking within the sound to be able to make you feel like you're part of something, like you're part of a movie, or you're listening to something, or it's an emotion that you should be feeling within this musical realm, as I would call it. My last lo-fi mix was called Into the Realm of Dreams, because it was meant to provoke that. And I love that sort of naming conventions within the lo-fi community. You'll notice a lot of the videos that you look up all have a different sort of, not a theme of sorts. So one of the most popular channels I know, Fantastic Music, I believe it's just called Fantastic Music. They do a sort of town or rainy theme, or for instance, it's San Francisco with the sun setting in the background, or it's a windy day. It's based around that. It's around environment. And I love they use jazz hop to be able to maximize their lo-fi feeling within that jazzy, almost upbeat part of downtown or uptown. It's brilliant. It's great concept. And the community responds as the community does within the lo-fi community. It says, brilliant, I want more. You will notice that the internet can be a very toxic place in certain areas of it. And for me, to see the complete opposite in the lo-fi community, you go through that comment section, you ain't going to find any negativity. You ain't going to find anything along those lines. And I love that. There has to be a positive and a negative in life. There has to be both sides of the coin. You cannot have one without the other. And I think the internet needs this counterbalance. And without it, I think that's how powerful the lo-fi community is in itself. And I hope it grows. I really do. I hope it grows greater and greater to greater heights over the next 20 years. Because in itself, the positivity that comes out of it, the way people talk about their traumas and getting through them and becoming better people and getting through tough times like studying or getting through tough times, divorces, or anything you're thinking of to yourself, it's there. Someone's talked about it and they've been able to utilize the music as a way to be able to express themselves and feel better or be able to get through a tough time. And I love that. I really do. I don't think there's very many spaces like that on the internet. So this is almost like a love letter to the lo-fi community. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for all the positivity you bring. And let's hope that people just continue to put out the content for it. Fortify it right now. No, yeah, protect it at all costs. That's what it must be done. And I hope that is the case. Because without it, there would just be the negative. And I do feel that the internet at the moment is becoming more and more negative as we look into it. One of the things that I have noticed, I don't know about yourselves, but there seems to be a divide with cultural provoking people. I'm not going to say their names. You will know the gentleman I'm speaking about without me really saying his name, because he's become quite big on the internet. But what I will say is people like him have divided the genders rather than united them. We need to unite. We don't need to be more divided than we already are. We shouldn't be blaming each other for our downfalls. We should be saying, look, these are our problems. These are our issues with ourselves. We'll work on them and we'll get better. And that's it. Because the more we blame each other for things, the more this world becomes more divided than it already is. I don't ever look down on people for their flaws because I'm a very flawed human being myself. I just want people to get better. That's all it is. If we want to divide people more and create this angst or more than it already is, we're going down the right path. We're going down each country fighting against each country instead of embracing each other. Now, this may sound like some lovey-dovey shit, lovey-dovey-do, whatever. But the point being is this. Don't let the internet, the one space that was created to be able to create communication between people and unite people, become a place of toxicity and a cesspool for finding more ways to, just not like each other. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on the matter. I don't think that that's what we should be creating. We should be creating positivity and solutions instead of highlighting the problems, And instead of looking at the solution as forcing people to do something, suggest it and give examples and be positive about the examples. One of the things that I do see a lot of is pessimism. It's very easy to be a pessimist in today's society. It's very easy to say, the world's falling apart or anything along those lines. It's very easy to say all these things without providing a bloody solution. That's all politicians do these days. They always put band-aids on rather than finding an actual solution to the problem. One thing that I see nowadays is that everyone's happy to just give their 2 cents without actually providing a solution. What's the point? You're just talking into the wind. If you're going to do something, do it. And actually practice what you preach. The amount of people nowadays who are willing to say they're the best at whatever they're doing without actually putting their best foot forward first. It's just sad. Let's be honest. So, moving on from that, that's a negative point. My solution to this is to bring in, focus on yourself, number one. Focus on making yourself better before you cast out onto the world and say, this is all the problems, why aren't the world fixing it? Say, I'm going to fix what I can fix. And I'm not going to divide people, I'm going to unite people. And those people are going to be my close friends and family. One thing that I have noticed is that people will blame an entire gender or a race or anything based off one or two people. Because we don't know that many people locally nowadays. Everyone sees stuff on the internet and then they immediately think because one or two people have done something that the entire genre of people have done that. It's not the case at all. People are very different. We're very similar in some ways, but we're also very, very different. So take that as a way to understand that just because one or two people have done something that you've seen in your lives, or you've been hurt by somebody, that one person doesn't reflect everybody. Okay? Now, moving on to much more positive stuff. One thing that I've seen recently that puts a massive grin on my face. For those who aren't aware, I made a video recently about him. Casey Neistat, he's back, and he's back in New York City. And damn, it makes me feel good. I feel like we're back in 2015 all over again. Probably one of the best periods of the internet all time, before the adpocalypse, before all of this lack of creativity was in there. And Casey Neistat was at full-fledged power within New York City. Well, he's back and he's creating again and he's putting out content, and I am extremely excited. It almost felt like a wave of nostalgia flew over me when I saw one of his newest videos. Now, he brought his entire family back to the great city of New York. He's like the mayor of the city without being officially the mayor. He's the man who reflects everything that is New York City. He breathes in the air, he understands how great a place it is, and he values it for what it is. And he wants to be there for its best bits and for its worst bits. It does make me feel that I should be getting over there as soon as possible. Moving there to the city that never sleeps, that always has something going on, that is always has some character. It's why I love visiting there. Part of it was because Casey Neistat highlighted not just the good bits but the bad bits about the city, and he accepted it and he showed all of it, even the nitty-gritty parts. Even where he would make a joke about going through the neighborhood where the gentleman was selling fake handbags, and that he could get robbed just by walking through there. And it was a joke, and he was filming himself at the time, but the point is that there are bad things in the city. Yes, there are gunshots going off. Yes, that people, knife crime, just like there is in London. He was able to highlight a way to make the city a character. As I said in my last video, so I'm not going to rehash that, but I am excited to see one of YouTube's greatest creators in his area, back in the home place, back making videos that will make the YouTube scene fresher, and he will revitalize vlogging in a new way, and I shouldn't even call it vlogging anymore. He makes films where others make vlogs. He makes films and experiences where others make YouTube videos. This is what I'm excited about, and New York is his background, and we are going to absorb all of it. So if you haven't already, we've already got 2 things on this podcast that you should be going away and typing on that YouTube bar. Click right now. Lofi and Casey Neistat. Neistat is spelled Neistat. You got that? Jump on there right now. Click, run, go. The rest of the podcast doesn't matter. Get over it now. I'm just kidding. Point being is this. Some creators have such a great effect on you. It's like having a friend back in your life. It is a beautiful thing. Such an effect. I remember going to New York City for the first time just because of that man. And because of it, I also love that city. Not as much as him, sadly, because I've only been there twice. Can't claim that. But I will be there, and I will live there at some point in my life, for a year at least. Because it is a beautiful place, both in winter, summer, and all the other seasons. Should just say autumn and spring. Bloody being too lazy there. So, Casey Neistat's back. Switching over to a negative part of the topic, I know, switching with the clock's ticking back and forth right now. We are seeing some positives and negatives. The negatives is the financial crash has begun. For those who are aware, you will be seeing that the S&P 500 and all the other index funds all over the world have been ticking down very steadily for the past 2 weeks, and it is happening. The mortgage crisis is happening. It is up to 6.25% for the interest on mortgages. That's the highest it's been since 2008. As soon as it hits 8%, it's Armageddon again. So we are looking at all markets overvalued, overinflated, and as I've said before, please, for the love of God, get out of the market while you still can, because it's only going to get worse. And to my friends who went into the crypto market, I'm so sorry. Yep, I did warn you. I'm not going to say I told you so, because that's not what I'm about. But I will give you a solution to this: is get tactics, get financially literate. You're doing it with me, by the way. We're learning together here. We all have to accept the loss, move on, and keep going forward, because there's always going to give us time. If you've got the time like me, if you're in your early 30s, late 20s, or even earlier 20s, or if you're not even in your 20s yet, or even if you're in your early 40s, you still have time. You still can make mistakes and move forward and learn from it. And this financial collapse can be an opportunity to understand what's going on. Why is it happening? Why have we got to this point? Ask the whys. The solution here is learning. One of the greatest pieces of advice I've ever been given is that once you get to university, or even if you're not at university and you just finish at secondary school, it's as if you're told that that's it for learning. It's all over. You don't do any more learning. School's going to teach you everything you need to know, or university's going to teach you everything you need to know. Not at all. The learning never stops. Just like fitness, just like all of the spirituality, all of the things that you need to keep in your life to be able to make yourself feel good and live in a world that is fun to be in, you have to keep learning. It keeps the mind going. It keeps you going. It keeps you fresh, keeps you up to date in the world. There's nothing worse than seeing somebody who doesn't understand the current state of affairs. Have you ever seen an old person who's unable to comprehend any sort of technology and refuses to learn it? It's sad to see, because they're missing out. They could make their lives a lot easier. I remember one of the greatest things seeing was my granddad being taught by my dad how to use a computer. Now, my granddad was an extremely smart man. He taught English lessons to Oxford students and stuff like that. He was an extremely smart man, but he humbled himself and he allowed my dad, his son, who was 20 plus years his senior, his junior, and allowed himself to learn from him and to be able to learn how to use a computer at the time. It was not an easy experience for him. It was not fun for the two of them to go through, but he did it anyway because he understood the importance of being able to level up even in his late 70s, early 80s. How crazy is that? And a man of that age knowing how important that is. And I remember, because I was running about the house at 7 years old, and I would stumble into the room and see what was going on and then run off again because I wasn't caring what was happening really. But I understand now how important that is. How crazy is that? So if he can do it at 80, you can do it now when you're in your whatever age you are. Because if you're still learning at that age, damn, you never stop, And he was respected by his peers, that man. And he was respected by many, many people. So when he passed away, sadly, when I was quite young, when I was 14, he was remembered by many, just like my other granddads as well. If you want to leave a message behind, be the person who sets the example for others, not the person who laughs or scoffs at those who push forward and want to learn and want to better themselves and want to become the ideal person who they are. So learning is a never-ending cycle, and this financial collapse could be the potential for you to understand why it's got to this point. One of the most interesting things to me is how have we got to this, housing market crash. I don't totally understand how we've got here again, because there's not a product being sold like the MBS products that were sold in 2008. So what's caused this? Is it the same as all the other assets? Is it just an overinflation of the assets as a whole because of the stimulation, because of the printing of all money across the world? It's a question I've been asking. I don't have the answers, but it's an interesting topic nonetheless. So be careful, be very aware, and I don't think there are any wrong answers at the moment, apart from being scammed by somebody and trying to get into some sort of get rich quick scheme, so don't get into it quickly. Cut that off. That for those who are just listening, I'm doing the don't do it sign basically. So that's it. Moving on. Solution to a problem there. Remember, we've addressed these. Each one along problem, there's a solution. So fun. This is nice. This is personal, but this is a little bit of fun for me. So I move into my new apartment on the 18th of October, 2022. I'm extremely excited. I'm gaining my independence once again for the first time in 2 years and 6 months, which is crazy to think. I would never have signed up for this in the first place. To those who are aware of the pandemic and all the things that happened for me personally, I moved back in with my family because I thought it was only going to last a month. How wrong was I? See, another thing, I was so wrong. We all thought that it was going to be a quick one and done thing. The government was going to shut it down, and 1 month turned into 2 full years. And for the last 6 months, basically, I've either been traveling or I've been here doing personal work or finding a job in what I'm doing right now. And I am now working for a new company. It's an extremely exciting opportunity for me to be able to progress my skills and to be able to find more opportunities and more ways to be able to create businesses outside in other ways to be able to create passive and portfolio income. So extremely exciting times for me personally. And it's extremely exciting to be able to move into my own place. I think that for me personally, I need my own space. My parents need their own space. My sister needs her own space in her own apartment now. She's got her own. I'll have my own. My parents will have the house back to themselves for the first time in like 3 years or whatever it's been. It's important to say this. There's people like Gary Vee out there, I am going to say his name, who say move in with your parents to be able to save money. But what he doesn't talk about is the mental health that comes with that for both you and your parents. You may love your parents to the ends of the earth, and you may love being with them. But I promise you this, if you're someone in your early or late 20s or even early 30s, it is going to be something that's going to be mentally tough for you because you will have opposing views to your parents. And I don't care how well you get along, it will forever be feeling like it's hung over you. I know this firsthand, but I can also see this by speaking to other people. Not everyone can have an ideal relationship. And if you're like me and you pay rent to your parents, that's great. For me personally, whenever I've been earning, I always have the rule, I always give them rent because they deserve it, because they've got me staying here, and it would be as if I was renting from anyone. And you have to pay that because you're paying for a space and you're paying for a part of their lives almost. And for me personally, I'm going to be paying rent to a non-family member to have a space for myself, to create my freedom. It's like for those who talk about driving. They get a car so that they can go to new places and go and see the world in some ways. Ironically, most people don't go outside of their hometowns if you look at the statistics, and therefore the driving thing kind of goes out the window. But the idea is nice enough as it is. You're trying to gain your independence. You're trying to gain your freedom. So for those to say renting's for suckers, it's not. You're gaining your freedom. You're gaining you as a person. You're gaining the ability to determine who you are. That may sound like some mumbo jumbo, but that's what I think. And if you don't like it, it's fair enough. Totally understand. Everyone has their opinion on these sort of things. So, exciting times for me. Here's a fun thing that nobody talks about is how much furniture bloody costs. Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about how you're going to have to go to IKEA and spend like $2,000 to be able to fill out your apartment with all the basics, basically. We're not even talking about niceties. You take £2,000 and you just spend it and it's gone like that. But you could... There's other ways. There's many ways that people fill their house. I'm just being lazy. I just want to just fill it out and get it over and done with, and fill it up and be able to get a nice background for the podcast and to make the new look to the podcast and the video podcast look nicer as well. So for me, that's very exciting. really excited for that. And I would say to those who have the opportunity to move out, please do so. You will feel a lot better because you're gaining a new space, but you're also setting yourself up for an understanding of being in the real world as well. You cannot be with your family forever, and I know that there's influencers out there saying stay at home so you can save a load of money, but they don't realise that saving the money is probably worse off than the mental health you're going to cause yourself down the line. So don't deteriorate relationships, get out there. So final topic, final two topics. Chelsea Football Club I'm going to talk about for the next 5 minutes. So for those who aren't into football, please move forward. I shall be talking about Muay Thai, running, my new fitness phase after this. So rewinding forward for those who aren't into football, starting in 3, 2, 1, and Chelsea Football Club. So I don't think I've talked about the absolute madness that has happened at my club since Thomas Tuchel got sacked. So I will start there. Thomas Tuchel got sacked and I was extremely sad. There was a relationship there that seemed to be deteriorating. All the information that's coming out of the club at the moment is that Thomas Tuchel had basically broken up relationships with many of the players and that the staff were not happy with what was going on, and that Todd Boehly made the decision to basically cut ties with him on the first match that he would lose after the sad set of matches that we had to start the season off. We are extremely lucky that there is an international break right now happening to be able to give us the time to be able to put our team together and to be able to figure out what Graham Potter, who is the new manager, is going to be able to bring to Chelsea and see how we do in the team. I think we have the opportunity now to really push forward. I think Graham Potter is a fantastic manager. I'm really hoping that he has the ability to be a big manager at a big club and can play in the Champions League. Now, he started off with a 1-1 draw. I think we should have won that game. I think the conceded goal was kind of sad. They had very little possession and we were dominating the entire game. I think that there was a lack of finishing. Again, same old story with Chelsea at the moment is the lack of finishing at our club. There needs to be some confidence building for the up front. I'm hoping Aubameyang has the ability to do that. I hope he has the confidence to do that for Chelsea, and I hope he's going to get the supply that he needs to be able to do this. It also needs to be working on our defence. Since Rudiger and Christensen have left, there seems to be serious holes in our defence, and Mendy has been exposed for the keeper that he is. He's a great long-term sort of like... Sorry, not long-term. He is a great shot stopper. That's hard to say. And he's also confident when it comes down to be able to grab the ball out of the air in the box. Things that he's made up for from Kepa Arrizabalaga. However, now it's shown that he doesn't have the footwork and he isn't as confident in those areas which Arrizabalaga could be and could potentially take his spot because of his bad flood of games. It seems to me that Graham Potter may bring in and like his own players in January and may say, no, some of these players just I can't work with and I would much rather have someone I have confidence in. We will see. Personally, I'd love to see Mendy or Arrizabalaga be given a chance to be put into his new style. They both have big contracts. They both are relatively good keepers. And I think Graham Potter could potentially build upon them. I think also the same with our defence. We've got some really good talent in there that we've brought in from the summer. Yes, they were given in for Thomas Tuchel, but I think they're still good enough players to work under Potter. It's really nice that we've got Cucurella from Brighton, who was under Graham and will now still be under him, and they have a good relationship. And so I'm kind of sad on that because also I think that Ben Chilwell should be given the chance to play more games, and that he had some great form for the last few games and probably should be playing at left wing back, and maybe Cucurella can play in that left centre back role instead. And then you have Silva and Koulibaly playing, or Silva and Fofana. We also have understood that Azpilicueta is a player who is outdated and can't really play at that centre back role anymore, and that he is, for better words, just not that good anymore. I genuinely think that he needs to be put aside, put there for captaincy roles like Jordan Henderson or like James Milner within Liverpool, and just said, look, this is your role till 2024, till you can go to Barcelona. This is now where the big boys have to play. As for our midfield, that just needs absolutely destroying and putting back together. Kante is broken and cannot play as many games as he used to. I also think that I look at Jorginho and see him as a weakness. Kovacic seems to be good, but the ability to play game to game to game to game again is under scrutiny. And so we need to break that midfield apart and try and put some young new blood in there. I think that's the best way to thrive under Graham Potter. And I don't see it as any other way apart from maybe buying some sort of midfielder who's confident, but I don't think that's a good idea. I think we should invest in the youth for the midfield and build for the future. And I think that's what Todd Boehly's doing anyway. As for the attacking midfielders and wingers, we're pretty set on that. I think that Ziyech and Pulisic are bad eggs. I think that they will drag the team down with their attitudes. Maybe Pulisic can thrive under Graham Potter because he's a young player and he might find more game time, but I still look at him and think that he has a bad attitude problem as well as Ziyech. We'll see what happens. I'm really hoping that Broja and Aubameyang will be played up front together, or they'll both be given a good amount of time to play, but I'm really hopeful for the Chelsea Football Club. I think Graham Potter was the right manager to bring in. I think Pochettino is a wet blanket who hasn't achieved a lot with the teams that he's been given. Bit of a bottle job, in my opinion. And then Zidane would never. He's been good at Real Madrid, but anyone can be good at Real Madrid, it seems. So I don't think that would have suited Chelsea at the time. So it was the right appointment at the right time. And credit to Todd Boehly for not shying away from the fact that he called for a formation of 4-4-3. Which doesn't exist for my American listeners. That does not exist. There are 11 players on the pitch, including the goalkeeper. The outfield does not have the contents to be able to have a 4-4-3. It's 4-3-3. Anyway, moving on from Chelsea Football Club. Thank you for those who've rewinded forward to 5 minutes from now. Welcome back. I'm just going to talk about how I'm going to be changing my workout routine. So for the past 2.5 years, I've been working out from my parents' garage. I've got some pretty good results, as you can see. It's the relatively solid results for what I've got within that period of time. But I can feel myself starting to plateau a little bit with what I've found with my bodyweight exercises, my using the pull-up bar and the dip bar and the push-ups, and my 32 kg adjustable weight. I'm using bands as well. There is a variation there that I've been able to put together like a mesh, and it's provided very good results, as well as running, of course. I've talked about in previous videos. What I am going to do now is I'm going to incorporate more of a focus within weightlifting when I get to the gym in where I'm moving to. And from there, I am going to focus on my compound movements, really build upon those, and I'm going to still utilize my system of having 2 hypertrophy days, or hypertrophy days I should be saying, and then 2 heavy lifting days for strength. Those 2, by alternating, really work for me because they actually make me feel like I'm actually going to perform well within that area. And it's a very similar system. Those 4 compound movements days, and then I'm going to focus on switching out my Friday. So I will still run in the morning, but I'm going to try and do some Muay Thai, some yoga. Where I'm moving to, both of those are accessible, and I want to be able to get back into martial arts and into yoga. So if I can create new ways of meeting new people and doing a new thing, then that's definitely something that I'm looking into. And I think it will bring me the opportunity to be able to change my body composition a little bit and also make me more flexible. I do yoga and stretching anyway, my own sort, that I do after every run or before every run as well. But I do want to add some spice to my workout routine, and I think that everyone should try and mix things up and try new things to be able to push yourself forward and stop from plateauing and start escalating. That's probably not the right word, but whatever. Apart from that, don't have anything else. I've talked about many things. We've talked about the Lofi community, Casey Neistat back in NYC, the financial collapse, renting out apartments, the Chelsea madness, and the plan for lifting, yoga, and Muay Thai. So spice up your life on these sort of things. But apart from that, I will say to you now, once again, find solutions within yourself. Don't look externally into the world and try and divide and conquer. Conquer yourself first. So we'll leave it there, and we'll leave on that positive note, as always. So, this has been a Taylor's Tales podcast. This has been Chris's Corner. I've been your host, Chris Taylor. And as always, I hope to see you this time next week. Bye now.